This is Ray with School of Racing Graphics, and in this video tutorial or demo, I'm going to show you how to use the new 5-star asphalt oval truck template that we just completed and launched here early in January 2022. Before I get started, the first thing I'm going to do is show you what's in the folder here. So I'm going to go to my desktop. So I'm going to go to my desktop. Now the stream might continue to cut in and out. So I'm using these videos right now to test my stream. We're supposed to be getting a new internet service. And so if it cuts out, just hang tight, it'll come back and I'll pick up right where I had left off. So in the folder, you can expect all the same things that typically come with all SRGFX files. Is we're going to have an Adobe Illustrator file, Corel, EPS file, FlexiSign, PDF, PNG. This is more specific to our templates because it's a really easy way to create mockups. It's all flat except for the body panels are transparent, so you can just stick anything behind it. So like open it in Photoshop. Really, you can open it in any program or any software, but you won't be able to move any of the truck elements or anything like that. It's all just one piece, but it's a quick and easy way to get a mockup done. And then you're also going to have the Photoshop file, and then we have an SVG for Inkscape, which is a free program. You can get that at inkscape.org. If you use Affinity Designer, you can use the Adobe Illustrator file, and if you use Vinyl Express LXI, you can use the FlexiSign file. And then in the legacy folder, we have older file versions for older programs. So FlexiSign 10, Corel Draw, I think it's down to version 11. Adobe Illustrator, I think this goes down to CS5. If you need anything earlier than that on Adobe, just use the EPS file. Then we got the full-size template. I oversized these just a little bit so they're easy to adjust. I may do a demo quick with these in the video. The point in this particular template. You got your full size, and again, it's in all the different softwares that you'll need it in. And then we have extras, which is going to include different tires or different wheels, and then different wheel colors. And the wheel colors are easy to change, but you have those. And then one other thing is the motion tire. So you add these in if you're looking for a template that looks like it's moving. You can just overlay these right on top of the tire layer, and it'll displace. All right, so after that, now we're going to get right into working with the template. If you guys have any questions while I'm working about really anything, feel free to ask. I'm going to talk about template most of the time. I'm going to use two products. I linked to them in the description. So it's going to be number set 33 and vector racing single 123. Give me just a second. All right, so now going back to Adobe Illustrator. I'm working in Adobe Illustrator, but everything I'm going to do works pretty much the same way. You're going to have your layer palette open no matter what design software you're in. So if you're Flexi, Corel, Affinity, Photoshop, you always want to have your layer palette panel open because that is how we organize the files and make them easy to use. So when you open up the template, you're going to notice it looks a little bit like a clown car and everything's a little bit of a different color. And that's actually to make it easy to change the color. So you can select the swatches down here, and you don't select it and then change the color. You would select it and go to Select, Same, Fill Color, and it'll select all the elements that are that color, and then you can change the color of that. And the detail right there, it tells you what it is that you're changing. Now that's if you're in any of the other design software than Adobe Illustrator. Photoshop, you'll have to do it manually with color overlays on the layer. You should be pretty familiar with Photoshop if that's what you're using, so you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so if you're in Illustrator, what you would do is you can select the roof color, but then you can look over here in your swatches panel, and because it's a global swatch, I can go ahead and just change it to any color I want, and it will change universally within the template, making it really easy. So I'm going to make it super easy on myself. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hide a bunch of stuff. And I could just lock it if I wanted to. I could lock everything and then make it so I could pick through. I typically don't like to lock things because I only really want to see what it is that I'm looking for. Now, or what that I'm picking through. Now, I showed you earlier the full-size template, right? And so we got the sides here. And basically the way this works is you can design in full size and then grab your hot corner, and it gives you the instructions down here on what to do. So before you get started, the panels are built to be placed strategically on the presentation template. So essentially, if we were going to design the driver's side, we can grab that, the two hot corners, and then you just size it down to 11 inches, copy, and paste it over. Oh, gotta make sure. Yeah, I see. And then make sure the hot corners are on here. And then all you have to do is just align that, and it will line right up for you. The reason we do that is we can't build the presentation template to the full size of a truck. It would just be a massive file. It would be really high resolution for Photoshop. And so we build it down so that it's basically could almost fit on a piece of paper. And really, it's mostly for screen viewing anyway. So we build the high detail template in a smaller template, so it's easy to manage all of the different layers and how big the file size actually is. So you would essentially design over here for your full wrap size, and then you can transfer over once you're done. And then once your wrap is approved, you can actually adjust all these panels to fit whatever the exact measurements are. So don't expect this to fit a 5-star template perfectly. You're going to have to adjust this. These are just here as a good starting point, so you can move it around a few inches, move it up, move it down. Typically, I oversize them just a little bit so that you can size them down. But you will need to use the provided measurement sheet, which is here. Get those measurements and then adjust that just before you print. Make sure everything's laid out just right. Okay, so going back to now the template. Now that I've got everything hidden, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the body layers. Actually, you know what? I'm really only going to work in this video, so the video is not super long. I'm only going to work with the driver's side. So I'm not going to mess with the top. I'm not going to mess with the right side of the truck. So I'm going to move this into graphics, and I made a duplicate. I held down Option. So now I have, or I thought I did. Let me try that again. Down Option, there we go. All right, so now in my graphics layer, I have just that. And so I could turn that off, and then you can see I'll turn this one on, and now I have just that. And so what I do with this right here is I don't use it to color my panels or anything like that. I just combine it all together. And this is going to become my clipping mask, okay? I've had a few people ask me, hey, how come you're not including clipping masks in your template? Because a couple of different reasons. One, clipping masks are not universal to every design software, and I have to make sure that the template works in at least 3 to 4 different design softwares flawlessly, and that includes FlexiSign and CorelDRAW. Two, you might not want to use the clipping mask that I include. You might want to have a clipping mask without this piece. But if I include that piece, now you have it in there. So this gives you the option to pull the pieces in, combine them together, and make a clipping mask out of what it is that you want to use. So I'm going to combine all these together. I'm going to keep it really simple. And I'm kind of flying blind here. I have zero plan. I'm going to design something. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to essentially start from scratch with a couple of our products so you can see how this works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to use this as my coloring tool, or as my actual panels. So this will be a part of the design. So I'm going to turn my colors back on. Just got to find them in the layer somewhere. Oh, I think I put them up at the top. There we go. There they are. All right. So it's in the background. Sorry, Lost myself there just a little bit. All right, so we're going to turn those off, and I'm going to turn off everything else. And then I got my mask. I'm going to turn that off. And so then this here, I just want to turn it the color I'm going to use for this truck. So in this particular truck, I'm going to use gray. So what I'll do is I'll just select all the pieces that I'm going to change the color to. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to select the doors right here. And what this allows me to do is all I have to do now is select the swatch, right? And so I can come over here, select this swatch, and then just turn it a version of gray. I'm going to do like a grayish kind of truck, like something like that. So you can see the other ones are automatically changing, right? And it doesn't make sense right now because I have the background on. I can go ahead and turn that off like that. And now you can see it again, okay? And because I'm not going to use these, I don't really need to have them on, so I'm just going to turn those off as well. And that's what's really actually going to make it easy. Now, I'm designing directly in this template, which is my preference. I provide this one for you if you want it. So my preference is to just design directly in here and then later throw everything over here and print it. You can do it either way. Whatever way your mind works, do what's most comfortable for you. Yeah, I'll look into making it public. I don't know that that the streaming company that I use allows me to make it public because I'm already sharing it to 3 different areas, and they probably don't want me sharing it. So probably after the replay, they'll allow me to share it. But for now, I can't share it. I think while it's live. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the 2 products I'm going to use. And first I'm going to start with the number set. And I'm just going to lay out a quick number using number set 33. You'll see this is also a new one to our site that we just launched earlier this month, January 2022. And because I'm doing number set, or let's see, I'm doing, what number do I want to make it? This is a fictional car, or fictional truck. So I'm just going to make it number 20. We'll do 22. I like the idea of doing 22. And honestly, I could just grab this guy here, bring it in. Like so. And for now, I'm just going to rough it in. I'm not doing anything official. Just get it in there. And I'm going to lock that layer and then make sure. Oops, lock the wrong layer. Grab these 2 and get them up in here into the graphics layer like that. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. And then again, this graphics, this mask that I made up here is for that's just going to be a mask that I'm going to mask everything out with afterward. Okay, so I'm not really going to follow the rules so much as to like what is exactly done on a truck as far as number size and location and all that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of roughing everything in and just going a little bit blind. Just really, I'm more here interested in showing how the template actually works. So this template was actually the detail template. Was the base of it was built by Nick Egan, and then I went in. He had a lot of the shadows and lights done, so I am going to use his name as the primary sponsor. And again, I'm just going to pick some kind of a generic font, I think. I always like to keep a base. And for now, I'll shear it. We'll just do 20 for now. And again, I'm making up kind of a fake thing here. So I could say trucking. one of my least favorite things is like picking. It's not my least favorite thing, but like one of the things that takes the longest is picking out fonts. And then now you're sitting here probably after taking a long time to pick out font, watching me pick out a font, right? I should have probably thought that through before I did the video, but it is what it is. I always like to like create a contrast with my sponsors too, where it's like if I'm going to have a big block as part of it, then like the next font, it would be something like that. Like it's kind of an 80s style, I think, where it's like one is block and then the next is not, is just something completely contrast to that. So I think I'll go with something like that. Create outlines. Already got outlines created. So I'm going to show all here, go back to show all, and like that. And I'm going to take these, reflect them the other way, and I don't know if you just saw that there in Illustrator. You can actually, the way I was doing it before is you can actually just select a layer and then go to Object, Hide, and then it says all other layers. So essentially anything else that's not selected. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these on here onto the same layer. Just kind of rough them into place. Move the number back a little bit. Now I like to, when I'm designing, always throw my sponsors on first. You know what? I shouldn't have done that. What was I doing there? Is I basically mirrored everything, which you can't do that. All right, so I'll take that and I'll mirror them individually or move them around individually. So we'll take this and I'm going to go to graphics here again and object, hide all other layers. And now I'm back to the simple thing I'm working on here. That. And I want this contingency stack here to be like this. So what I could do is just take this, align it left, take these, align them left, and then just nudge them until they fit in the space appropriately, right? I'm going to take this, back it up, and then I'm going to switch these around. Never underestimate the power of the align tool because it really makes things go by a lot quicker. Right? If you just quickly align things like that. And then you can come back in and move them around as you see fit. So like typically I like to kind of hug the wheel well a little bit. So, and then naturally take the decals and butt them closer up against each other so they look something like that. And then you got room for more too if you want them, okay? And then what I do too is I'll take all of them and I'm gonna group them all together so that I can turn them on and off later. Now, Illustrator has this unique feature that you can click something and then double click it, and now it's isolated. So I can't select anything else except for the group that I just double clicked, like that. And I'll end up moving all this around after I get my light and shadows back on, because the light and shadows are going to show me where the curves are on the body and will help me make a better decision moving forward. Okay, like that. All right, so that kind of gives me a pretty good idea. And then with this Egan, I might, I don't know that I will keep the drop shadow, this heavy casting shadow here that's on the 22. I may or may not keep it, but I definitely want my sponsor to match what I've got going on over here. So I'm going to go ahead and build it out. First turn the name white, like the number is, right? And then we're going to have 3 fills, and I'm going to take this fill here, which is going to be the white one, and then I'm going to have a second fill, which is going to be orange, and then a third fill that's going to be black. And I'm going to take this one and effect, path, offset path, and then I'm going to try it out at -1 pixel and see what it looks like. -2 pixels, like that. 2 is too much. -1.5 pixels, something like that. Okay, keep it nice and crisp. I'll crank this up to 100 if it doesn't get out of control. That's the miter limit, and click OK. So now I have an offset path here that if I want to adjust it later, I can come back and adjust it without having to completely recreate my artwork, right? So you can see there I just increased it, decreased it again. Okay. Now I never mind if my sponsors get cut off on the wheel well or in a window or something like that, as long as the main elements are there and it's still readable. So think of like Darrell Waltrip's Tide car back in the 80s, how the tide kind of always went down into the wheel well and then the eye went up onto the rear window, right? All right, so I'm going to do one last one, and that's going to be the offset path to this here. And I've just duplicated it essentially, but this one I'm going to go out 2 pixels. And maybe we'll go 3. I don't like it when my outlines are the same, right? The same. So like whatever one is the one that's creating the most contrast, I think should be the thickest. So you don't want to have competing outlines. So like black should be thicker than the orange. And it looks like my oranges are different. So what one did I select down here? So I'll change this to the one I'm using in the sponsor just so they're the same. Kind of picky, but that's, well, it's actually not picky. That's the way you should do things. And I don't like that this is this color, so I'm going to grayscale it for now. All right, so I think I roughed in my sponsor placement. I didn't, it's not official, it's not perfect, but it's roughed in pretty well. And so what I'll do here now is I'm going to take the trucking and I'm going to make sure it's a nice clean compound shape, and I'll turn that orange, and then I'm going to take a fill and effect path, offset path, and we'll go 2 pixels for now. And because of the nature of this particular text here, I might put a drop shadow on it just to thicken it up a little bit and make it stick out a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and turn that black. And so now you can see there the Egan trucking. And so in my mind, I'm imagining that also as fluorescent, not just flat orange. If it was going to be a flat orange, I might lighten it up a little bit or put a gradient in it or do something to it that makes it stand out just a little bit more, because orange on black typically has a hard time. It's especially like a colorblind person would have a hard time seeing that red on black, orange on black, dark blue on black. Just think those kinds of things through when you're trying to create your contrast. It looks like this font here too. If I wanted to, I could go through here and pick all these like inner strokes and delete them out. I'm not going to take the time to do all of these, but you kind of see the idea. You got some options here to work with. That. Okay. All right, so that's good. And so now what I'm going to do is bring in the last component, which is going to be my graphic. So this is Adam's latest graphic, and it's I like it. It's got a lot of straight lines, and so when you got a lot of straight lines, you got a lot that you can work with as far as ways to maneuver it. One thing that you should never underestimate with a straight line graphic like this is how you can take it and just select the points here and hold down shift and treat it like a piston and be able to move it. Even the same with this here. However, whatever distance I need to be able to move it to make it work for my wrap, I can easily do that. And so even the middle, I can make an adjustment in the middle. And so as I'm playing with this and I'm putting it on the truck, you'll notice I'll probably move things around quite a bit in order to get it exactly where I want it. I'm going to go for a nice clean look on this truck, so nothing real crazy or a lot of. It won't have a lot of asymmetrical. It's going to just be pretty clean. So I'm going to just size that up, kind of get it right where I want it, right here. Maybe cut through the 22 like that, something like that. And I'm going to group it together and send it to the back. What did I do there? Something ain't right. Okay, group it together and send it to the back. Okay, and I want to make sure it's in front of the body panels. So I have a couple of options, things that I could do here, which help me to start dictating where I'm going to put the graphics and the numbers and things like that. So I could allow this curve here to come up and then run down the back of the truck, and then just the sides have it. Or I can run it up over the top like that, and then it runs up, essentially over the top of the back of the truck and goes over to the other side and wraps around, right? Which would be the easiest thing. And for the sake of time, that's what I'm going to commit to doing. But what I am going to do here is take these points, and I'm going to pull them all the way to the front. And again, because I'm working with a straight line graphic, I'm going to go ahead and take this and move it down, right? And now I'm going to be blue all the way to the bottom. And you don't even have to adjust all the other ones. You can just adjust this here. This is how I typically do it, like that. And pull that down. And now I have just a simple, it's called a delta. So this shape here, this shape right here, where you see that, is called a delta. Like think of it like a spacecraft or airplane wing. That's a delta, okay? So we're just making a simple delta graphic. And then I can use these lines here. I don't think I want them to cover the whole thing or go all the way up. So I'm going to maneuver them to the end, and then I'll show you a technique so that you don't have to figure out how to wrap all that around, right? So it just helps you add detail without it being a tremendous pain when it comes to wrapping it, right? So I'm going to get rid of those, combine these together, make the compound shape. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab that color. And with that color, that's called doors and quarters at this point, I'm going to create a gradient. And I need to make sure that the opacity is all the way up. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate it. And this one here, I'm going to pull it down just a little bit, like so. Okay, and then I just got to make sure that my gradient is set to 90. And we're going to go -90. Okay, and now you can see what happens here is you get those lines, they fade up and then they fade out before they wrap around the truck and make it difficult for the wrap guy, because whoever's applying this wrap is going to hate your guts if you make it so that it goes up there. Not that it can't be done, but you can give your wrap guy an easier time, or your wrap installer an easier time, just by making sure graphics resolve in an easier way. Okay, so something like that. So see, now you got that nice little detail in there, and it's not overwhelming, and it's not, but it's there, it's present, right? Okay, so something I like to do, I don't always think to myself that a graphic, or I don't always think that black has to be included. That's one of my bigger problems or pet peeves, I think I could say, with a lot of wraps, is they all have black in them. So with this one, I'm going to go ahead and select all my black, and I'm going to change it over to this dark blue color, because I just think it looks a lot cooler. And the same thing with this Egan, I'm going to change it to that dark blue color. So we got that blue there. You can see it on my color palette. And so here we go, black, like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with this, and turn that blue, like that. And now you got that nice kind of softer look to it. So what I can do though is I still want it to be blue, but maybe I want a little more contrast, so I can take it and then darken it up a little bit, right? So I don't have to go all the way to black, but I can go definitely darker blue, right? Like that. Just play with it in a way that makes it look like it belongs on the wrap together. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. Now, a couple little things that I noticed that you probably notice, or I hope you notice if you're learning anything, is the way I have things laid out and the way that the relation of the graphic to the sponsors and everything. So I'm going to unlock all, okay, and I'm going to bring this guy here to the front, and it's going to become now my clipping mask. And so I'm just going to make sure I grab everything and hit make clipping mask. And what that does is it produces a clipping mask, and then I can turn my body panels back on, and there's my already previously colored body panels. So you can see here, there's a few discrepancies. The 22 doesn't lean into this. This leans into the Egan, and I kind of want this all to float the same. So I have a couple options. I could take this here and I can shear it. So I can keep playing with the shear on that until it lines up right. So we're going to say, let's go -10, right? Now let's go -8. Oops. Like that. Seems like maybe it's 7, maybe 7.5. Okay. You can see it's getting really consistent here, and it's pulling in some consistency right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now you can see there, it looks a lot better. Or if what you want to do, you want the whole truck to look just a little faster, you can have all of them and take it, transform, shear, and let's say we want to just up it 10 more, something like that. And it gives it just a little bit more speed, but you got to watch for sloppiness when you do that. You can't just shear things to, you just can't go crazy with all your shearing. A lot of times you can overdo it, and in order to get an aggressive look. So just, experiment and play with it. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to take this 22 and I'm going to size it up. And you'll notice something that I didn't pay much attention to that I should have, is that your number and your sponsors should always follow the rake of your vehicle, whatever the rake is. So if you got a dirt late model and it's coming down and then goes straight, this one follows the rake, this one follows the straight line. They should always follow straight line. So I got some gappage here that makes everything look a little broken as best. It offends the eye is the best way I know how to say it. So I'm going to shear this back shear it back a little, back to what we had it. So I could fix this and then everything with this. Now what I like to do is I like to get it right up to make exactly what it's supposed to be. And there's a way you could do this. So it's non-destructive. In Illustrator, you go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and then you can say, let's say 3 degrees, like that. And now if I ever need to go back in and adjust it, right, because right there follows it pretty well, probably could get a fine-tune it a little bit more. But if I ever need to go back and adjust it, I can easily get back to 0. But for now, I'm just going to do it by eye, keep it easy on myself for the sake of time. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Like that. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to bring it back down. But what that's going to do is open that gap up just a little bit more there on number. Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and move this just a little bit. And I'm just going to make a few little adjustments. Now, this might not be relevant, what I'm doing to the final wrap, but what I want it to look like in my portfolio is like I care, and like I care about each detail. And so these are the details that actually set apart designers who are really like aiming for excellence. They're thinking through every component of the wrap, not just getting the basic stuff into place, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and move that back a little and just take a look and see. So now you can see I've moved that, but the shearing here is still not quite right. So, and that's because I adjusted the number. So I'm going to take these two. I'm not going to actually shear that brush font. I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to just keep messing with it until it's right. So maybe 2.5 degrees like that. And let's try 3. That looks actually pretty good. And so now I have 1, 2, 3 components, and everything is drawing my eye to the fact that everything flows naturally, right? You can see that there. Okay, so I know that this is a template. This is a template video, and I'm sitting here and teaching you the fundamentals of good design. And so now what I've done is I've created for myself a problem is I have a bigger number. My contingency sponsors don't necessarily fit there. So I'm either going to have to size my number back down or move my contingencies. And I think I'll move the contingencies. I'd rather have the contingencies moved over and maybe even sized down a little bit. And typically I only put these in place just for reference, because a lot of guys, they're going to put the stickers on themselves, and they're not going to put it over to their number, right? And so you know that. So I'll grab all these, size them down a little bit. And what might be better is to just not have these two right here, because they they take up more space in their width. So I can come in, or I could add that right there, And this is, again, this might be irrelevant to the final product because you may not even have these contingencies on the final wrap. So I always put them in for reference, especially for my portfolio. It just makes it look more official, more complete. And then, and then what I'm going to do too is I'm going to be even more specific, and I'm going to look at my orange line here, and I want that to show through just so that there's some continuation in the wrap design, right? So pull that down. Like that. And crowd these in just a little bit. Always be thinking too when you're designing your wraps that your current one you're designing is selling your next one, right? So like people are going to see it, they're going to like what you did, and that's going to make them want to use your services, right? Because if you get sloppy and decide, I just got to rush through this one, that could make all the difference in somebody choosing you or somebody choosing somebody else, right? So move those around just a little bit and get these centered. So I'm kind of dictating where these decals go based on looks like I messed up that corner on that shadow there. Like that, and like that. And it cleans it up a little bit. I could probably tweak on that some more. So there you see it. And then I could probably put more stuff back here or in here or something like that. And then I have the luxury to, I could take these lines here that Adam included in this graphic and then put them in here as a lighter blue color, right? So I could actually, if I wanted to, I could line them up to be in there like that and then turn them blue. Like so. Something like that. And then that gives you that little detail back there that you could have if you want. You can go 90 on that so that it fades in and out, like so, something like that. I would probably mess with it a little bit more, make it work a little more favorably with what I'm working on here, but I don't want to make a super long video trying to figure all that out. So crank that up a little bit and crank this up a little bit. And none of these sizes are official to a wrap size. I'm mostly just kind of throwing this together. And then there's this one other little thing here. Between these 22s, you get a lot of weird and odd shapes. So what I'll do is I'll come into the 22 and I'm going to get rid of at least those and then really pull it in like pretty far and make it so that this outline here is almost the entire width of the gap, right? And so sometimes what I like to do, or honestly what I like to do, I think these numbers are a little bit too thin on their outline. So I'm going to go and expand them a little more. Just kind of see how that looks. Like that. I think that's a little cleaner. And then I can get rid of these other ones. And then I'll move this 22 a little closer. Like that. And then I could just take these and put that drop shadow back on there just by duplicating it, sending it to the back. And now look, see what I'm left with here is hardly anything, hardly any weird shapes that draw your eye in. So what I could do is just, I could pull that over and close it up, or I could combine it all together and delete it out. One way or the other, you can figure out ways to do that. So kind of want the little bit bigger. It looks a little more natural. And then pull that in there. Pull that in there. And honestly, it would just be better if you know what your number is to just combine it all and keep it really super clean, right? Okay, so I think that concludes the design, at least for now. And then now what I could do is just turn everything back on. And then you see you got your design here working pretty well on the template pretty easily. So the last thing I'll do is go through and I can change the roll cage color really easily. And so I set it up. I always set them up as 3 colors so that you get your dynamic of dark and light, so that however the light is hitting it. So let's say we wanted to do orange. Well, I'm selecting cage 1. Then I can just go select same fill color, right? And it selects all of them on every view, right? It also shows me over here what my swatch is. So roll cage A, right? So I want to do dark orange. So this one is actually, because I'm doing dark orange, or I'm going to do orange. I need dark orange in order to get the full spectrum of orange. So it's going to look like a dark burnt orange. Then I'm going to go ahead and select page 2 and once I've got cage 2 selected, I'm going to go same fill color, and I'm going to take, honestly, I could take that same one and bring it over there, and then just click it and lighten it up just a little bit, like that. And then we're going to do the same thing with 3. I'm going to go select, same fill color, and this one's going to be just orange, the orange color. And I could take the orange color I was using here and just drag and drop it over. And so now the roll cage will match the numbers and the sponsor and everything else that's on the car. Looks like I turned both nose options on. So there's 2 nose options in this template. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off one of them. There's one. And then there's the other one. And I would, just for the sake of presentation, mess with this line to make it match the shadows and the curve that's on the front of this nose. So that's a basic breakdown of the asphalt truck template, 5-Star Buddies asphalt oval truck template. It looks like my feed is breaking up quite a bit, so I'm going to hop off of here. But if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to leave them in the comments. You can hit us up on srgfx.com/support, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.